What up? It's Kettle Hut, and welcome back. Yes, back to what? Another Alex video. I cannot find my pen to write on the board. Just kidding, I found it. It's in my pocket. Yes, I'm at school. Yes, I'm on the big board. Yes, my handwriting is going to look just the way it always has. For those of you that are in the other classes, if you find yourself watching this, well, welcome. It's nice to have you all. Today, we're going to be doing a surface area of a cone, or any cone for that matter. And so away we go. First things first, we've seen the nets. This is the net of a cone. You're going to have this thing I'm going to refer to as a pizza slice highlighted here. And then this circle is the base of the cone. So here is the circle. That circle represents this circle over here. And the lateral area, be careful, we're talking about the surface of the cone. So we're not talking about how full the cone can be. We're talking about the space, the area on the cone. So if you're looking at an ice cream cone, for example, if you were to paint it, how much paint would it take to cover the cone? We're not concerned with what fits inside of it. So this is all going to be surface area. So all we need to worry about is if you find the area of this weird looking pizza slice, find the area of the circle, add those together, you will get the surface area of the cone. So here's our cone, here's our formula. The LA, that stands for lateral area. So this is lateral area. If we remember that map we were just looking at, drawn in purple here, this weird pizza slice, this will represent the lateral area. If you could imagine that rolling out of the screen, rolling around a circle, that'll be the lateral area of the cone. If you were to paint the cone, if you have enough to cover this purple area, you would have enough to cover the whole cone. Area of a circle, you all should know that. Pi r squared is how you find the area of a circle. So once you add those two things together, there it is right here on your screen, pi r squared plus pi rl. Once you add those together, that is the total surface area of a cone. The R stands for radius. We should know what the radius of a circle is. And the L stands for slant height. Now this is one of the few times that I'm going to say yes, we need the slant height. Generally speaking, triangles and a whole bunch of other things, we don't use the slant height. All it does is cause you problems. But here, notice the real height, h in this case, the real height h goes in the middle of the cone. We're not worried about volume. We're not worried about how much fits inside of this. We only care about this on the outside. So our formula, this is going to be life-saving. L represents slant height. R represents radius. So here's our first cone. First things first, if you're seeing this on Alex, you'll probably see something that says, how do they phrase it? Don't round any intermediate calculations. And then the final thing would say, round your answer to the one that gets us the most, and perhaps I'll do that first. It says round your answer to nearest whole number. Okay, so that's something we stole from volume. A lot of you guys got tripped up on that because you didn't round it. Please read. Both of these statements I wrote on the board will probably be on the problems. They could say leave in terms of pi. They could say whatever, round to the nearest tenth, whatever the case is. So please read it. This first sentence up here, don't round to any intermediate calculation. All that means is as you type these things into the calculator as you go, don't round it. So if you type in the first thing and you get 28.763, do not round that to 28.8. You'll mess your final answer up. Only round once you're completely done and ready to type it into Alex. I feel like that's an important side note. So let's hop into it then. We're doing surface area of a cone. If you don't have the formula memorized, I promise the more you write it, the faster you'll memorize it. So there's our formula, pi r squared plus pi rl. Reminder, r stands for radius, and L stands for slant height. So we're looking at this cone. We have 11.4, that's already our slant. It goes along the side of the cone, not up the middle, so that is the slant height. And the radius should go from the center and extend to the side of the circle, which in this case, that's what they give us for 7. So 7 is already our radius. Now it's just a matter of plugging and chugging. I apologize. One thing I just realized too, so please add this. Alex will also say this on some problems. So for this problem, use 3.14 for pi. If you use a surface area calculator, if you Google surface area of a cone and you type in the dimensions, you will get these Alex ones wrong because they want you to use 3.14. Google asks you, or actually Google uses the full pi. So don't use Google. Now we just plug it in. Pi, we saw, we already used that color. Let's use green. So pi is green, 3.14. So we have 3.14. Now the radius we know is 7, so we're going to plug that in. Didn't change colors, that's weird. And then squared, right? The squared stays there, plus pi times the radius, which is 7. And then last but not least, the slant height, L, which is 11.4. Now it's just doing order of operations. So first, PEMDAS. The E is the second letter of PEMDAS. That stands for exponents. So 7 times 7 is 49. We're going to multiply that by 3.14. Eventually, I'm just rewriting for clarity's sake. Okay, so 3.14 times 49. 49 times 3.14. That's 153.86. Plus, now we have to do the other one. This right-hand side of our equation, or sorry, the right-hand side of the positive sign, you can just multiply all those together. So 3.14 times 7 times 11.4. You should get 250.572. And then last but not least, we do need to finish this up. So add those two things together, 153.86 plus 250.572. You'll get 404.432. Now this is where we would say we're done, but we do have to come back and check. Reminder, it did say round your answer to the nearest whole number. So the nearest whole number here, then we're going to look at this decimal place, the third 4 in line. Looking at this, 0.44 rounds it down. So the nearest whole number is 404. Don't forget units. Our units are meters. So we're going to use meters, and we're looking at surface area. Area is always squared. Final answer, 404 square meters. Area of the cone. Next, and again, you guys can pause if you want at any time. Now, we notice this one gives us the diameter. We're going to use the same things we did. I'm not going to rewrite it, but we're just going to act like it says 3.14 for pi. Don't round any intermediate calculations. And then we will change one little bit, though, and say round to the nearest 10th. First things first, write the formula. You'll remember it faster, I promise. Pi r squared plus pi rl. First things first, this is the diameter. I've already said first like 100 times, so this is really like the 100th thing. I don't know. But anyways, this is diameter, it's 27. In order to get the radius, what do we do with that? Cut it in half, hopefully you guys are saying, is remember the diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. The radius is always half of the diameter. I'm not going to plug it in, but just do 27 divided by 2. You get 13.5. Okay, so now we know 13.5 is the radius, and we know the slant height already is 32.9. Again, that goes along the outside edge of the cone. pi, 13.5 squared, plus pi. Radius is still 13.5. And then for L, we're going to fill in 32.9. At this point, I would do 13.5 squared. That is going to be 182.25. And then I'll do 13.5 times 32.9. So that would give me 444.15. Now, order of operations, we have to multiply these things together. So I'm going to multiply the pi times both of those numbers. And reminder, we're using 3.14 for pi. So I got 1394.631 for the right-hand side. And for the left-hand side, I got 3.14 times 182.25. 572.265. So adding that to the previous results, 572.265 plus 1394.631, and you should get 1966.896. We're not done yet. It does ask us to round to the nearest tenth. The only way to do that would be looking at the first number after the tenth. That is bigger than 4, or is 5 or larger, so that way this 9 rounds the 8 up, so you get 1966.9. Don't forget units, these are millimeters, and it is area, so they're squared. 1966.9. Next. A little bit tougher, they give us the height of the cone, and then they give us the slant height of the cone. So we do have the slant height. I'm going to slap that with an L, because I don't want to forget. That is the slant height. But we need the radius. You all remember? I know I drilled it into the people in my class, at least I tried to real hard. What is this thing that attaches, well, that's the radius, but what do we use when we know two sides of a right triangle and we're looking for the third? You guessed it. Well, hopefully you guessed it. I feel like Dora. I say something and like, you did it, you guessed right, even if you have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, C always has to be the hypotenuse. In this case, whenever you're dealing with cones, the hypotenuse will always be the slant height. So our slant height will be the hypotenuse of that triangle. Those of you who may not see it yet, here's the right triangle I'm referring to. So the slant height will always be C. C always has to be the hypotenuse. A and B, it doesn't matter which one's which. So that'll be my R squared. And then B squared I will call 25.2. Now we just got to do math. So starting with the left-hand side, I dropped my pen. Whoop. That was a weird noise. Oh no, now the pen doesn't work. Uh-oh. Alright, we're back. I got the pen fixed. Hopefully I'm going to splice a lot of that out of the video, so if you just randomly hear I got the pen fixed, you'll have no idea what I'm talking about. This might just be one super long video that I meshed together. Who knows? Anyways, back to the math. So we're going to start with the b squared, 25.2. We're going to square that. So 25.2 times 25.2. So that's 635.04. Nothing changed with the r squared. And then on the other side, 27.3 times 27.3 is 745.29. Now this is the hard version of the Pythagorean theorem. So to solve this, you need to get r by itself. In order to do so, you need to move the other thing to the other side. So some of you, if you know what I'm talking about, when you try and cheat the system, you cannot do it here. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, just solve it. So 745.29 minus 635.04 is 110.25. And then the opposite of squared, to cancel out the squared, you have to do the opposite, which is square root. So the square root of 110.25 is 10.5. Now, for those of you who are looking at this going, oh no, you got the square root, you have to do plus or minus. Correct, you should do plus or minus, but we're talking about distances. Does it make sense to have a negative length for a radius? No, it does not. So our final radius then is 10.5. All right, so then we have 10.5 as our radius. We already labeled the slant height in blue. Please don't forget, that's the height that we're worried about, the slant height for these. So just to do this, now it's all plugging and chugging. Pi r squared plus pi r l. Pi doesn't change. R squared is going to be 10.5 squared. Spoiler alert, we already know what that is. Pi times r, 10.5, times L, we already labeled in blue, 27.3. Doing math, 10.5 squared, we don't have to do that because we already saw what that was when we did this, right? 110.25. So this is going to be pi times 110.25 plus pi times, and then do 10.5 times 27.3, 286.65. Now multiplying this number times pi and this number times pi separately, 110.25 times 3.14, 346.185, plus, and then you're going to do 3.14 times 286.65, 900.081. Last thing to do is add those together. 346.185 plus 900.081, you should get 1246.266. This problem, we didn't ask about rounding. Please read the ALEX. Depending on the problem, might ask you to round to this or that or the other thing. So this one, I'll just leave it be. And then the units are inches and its surface area, so that's always going to be squared. Oh man, word problems. If a cone has a surface area of blank and a diameter of blank, find the slant height of the cone. Whenever you come into a word problem and you're not real sure what to do, you should try and find a starting place. And the starting place is to write down what you know. So one of the things I know right away, I know the total surface area is 822.78. Right? And it has a diameter of 18. So we know the diameter is 18. Find the slant height. So again, slant height, we're looking for slant height. L equals what? So this is the final thing. So what happens a lot of times when you guys do math problems, you get an answer, you're like, oh, boom, done. Like example, you'll say, find the length of AB, and you'll find X along the way, and then you'll circle that, but really you have to plug X back in. So the same thing's going to happen here, maybe. But reminder, the final answer is slant height. That's what we're looking for. So we have surface area, we have diameter, we're looking for slant height. You should hopefully try and think, is there anything we have that relates all of these things together? Well, what we have been doing is surface area of a cone, and we know that equals pi r squared plus pi r l. So anytime you have an equation, you can only have one unknown. If you have one equation, you can only have one unknown in order to solve for it. So check. Do we know how big the surface area is? Oh yes, we know that. So we know how big the surface area is. Do we know what pi is? Yes, we know what pi is. Do we know what slant height is? No, that's what we're looking for. So we have one unknown so far. Do we know the radius? Not directly, but the diameter is 18. The diameter is 18. We always know the diameter divided by 2 is the radius, which in this case, 18 divided by 2 is 9. So we do know the radius. So we know the radius. So look at this. We have one equation here, one big equation. We know the surface area. We know pi. We know r squared. We know pi. We know r. And we're looking for L. So we can use this. We'll be fine. Just plug everything into it. First, surface area is what? We know that, 822.78. At this point, I'm just going to guess, but I'm assuming it works out this way. So 3.14 for pi. So we know surface area. We know pi is 3.14. We know the radius is 9. And then plus, we know 3.14. So at this point, I'm just plugging in everything that I know for this equation. Okay. We know pi is 3.14. We know radius is 9. So plugging those things in. We know the surface area is given to us in the problem. And then L is going to be what we're looking for. Right? We do not know what L is. Besides, we don't want to take them. Taking L's is bad. It's like losing in video games if you don't get the reference. So doing math first, we can't just move this stuff. We do have to turn it into numbers that are normal numbers, so to speak. 822.78. I'm going to multiply this stuff together. Order of operations, we have to do 9 squared first. 9 times 9 is 81. Multiply that by 3.14 and you get 254.34 plus, and then we have to multiply all of that stuff together. The L, we're just going to treat it just like an X. It's the same thing. You can even call it X if you want. So 3.14 times 9 is going to be 28.26. And again, this is just algebra, multiplying these things together. You have to leave the L there because that's what we're solving for. You can't just have it disappear. The end game of this is always to get L alone, or our variable we want by itself in order to finish the problem. So before we can do this division, this has to be the only thing on the right-hand side. So in order to make that a reality, we have to move the 254 to the other side. And the only way to do that is to do the opposite, which in this case, the opposite of plus is minus. So subtract 254.34 from both sides. Minus 254.34. You get 568.44. And that is going to equal 28.26 times L. And we do want to get L by itself. So the only way to opposite of multiplication is division. So we divide both sides by 28.26. And we get 20.11 equals L. So that is the slant height. That is the final answer. That is what the problem asks us for. If you want to be specific, we need to use units. Not even if you want to be specific, you should be. In this case, the units are centimeters, so this is going to be centimeters. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to email any one of us. Your teachers all should be having office hours, and you should know what those office hours are at this point. So if you have any questions, please hit us up during that time. Send us emails. You know what it is. Smash like on the video. Subscribe. We'll see you next time.